The 2023 NBA trade deadline is right around the corner, and as a result, rumors are heating up throughout the league. Sure, more teams are genuinely competing for a playoffs now than I feel like ever before at this point in the season, but there does remain a few stragglers at the bottom who are clearly shooting for a lottery pick. One of those stragglers being the San Antonio Spurs, who traded away their best player in the young all-star DeJounte Murray this past offseason for future picks. It doesn't get more obvious that you're tanking than that. But they still have a few older guys on their roster that are helping keep them afloat, and I think they want to get rid of them. First of all, they have the sharpshooting Doug McDermott, the journeyman center Gorgui Dieng, and of course the topic of today's video, Jakob Poeltl. Poeltl is a 27-year-old making only $9 million, and he plays the role of the starting center for them. He specializes in rim protection, rebounding, and setting screens, aka all the little things that would bring out the best in a competitive team lacking size and strength inside. This year, Poeltl is blocking 1.2 shots a night, ranking him 18th in the league, and he is doing this on only 26 minutes a game, the 6th fewest of anyone in the top 20. Even though the Spurs rank 28th in the league in the standings, they have managed the 13th best rim defense, holding opponents to 69% at the hoop. This is largely thanks to Poeltl's elite shot contesting ability that forces guys to take tougher shots. He is a proven defensive stud. Now, unfortunately for Poeltl, he is not much of a boost offensively, which is likely why you don't hear his name brought up hardly at all when people discuss the best centers around the league. He is one of the few non-3-point shooting bigs left. In fact, Poeltl this season has 0 field goal attempts beyond the foul line. So spacing is a crucial factor potential suitors need to take into consideration when thinking about bringing him onto their roster. But trust me, there are still many teams that feel as though they are a defensive center away from contending, and that is what we will be talking about going forward. But first, please do me a big favor and like the video, as it really does help me out much more than I think you guys realize. And subscribe if you like NBA content. Now, let us get going with 5 potential Jakob Poeltl trades. The first deal I have is a heavy hitter right off the bat. We have Poeltl headed to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Robert Williams and a pick. Your knee-jerk reaction may be that this is far too much for the Celtics to give up, but let's take a step back and actually look at the situation in Boston. The Celtics have the best record in all of the NBA midway through this season. Jason Tatum has reached MVP consideration, and guys around him are doing their jobs at a spectacular rate. The one exception to this has been Robert Williams. Even though Al Horford has been their starting 5 pretty much all season long, the Celtics organization has been adamant that they value having Williams out there alongside him as a more physical interior defensive presence. Yet Williams has only appeared in 15 games this season due to frequent injuries to his lower body. This has made no impact on the team's winning. They are 11-4 with Williams, a 73% win percentage, and 24-9 without him, which is also 73. He is not moving the needle. And one can easily argue they would rather have the more durable and consistent Poeltl over the often in street clothes Williams. Of course, San Antonio would be making this move if they see the best in Williams. He is often hurt, but when he plays, he does a very good job doing exactly what Poeltl does. And at 25 years old and locked up in a long-term deal, he would be an excellent addition to this young roster. In my opinion, if the Celtics want to have a reliable and strong rim protector in the playoffs, they need to make this move. For my second deal, I once again have Poeltl joining a contender as he heads to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for Patty Mills and a pick. When everyone is on the floor, the Nets have one of the best teams in all of basketball. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are often unavailable, but when they are on and focused on the sport of basketball, there is not much anyone can do to stop them. And now that their supporting cast is healthy, the team is flourishing. The only correctable weakness on the roster is their interior defense. Nicholas Claxton has stepped up big time for the Nets. Listed at a very generous 6'11" and weighing only 215 pounds, Claxton has a hard time stopping other bigs. Yes, I acknowledge he is an elite shot blocker who is leading the league in blocks per game, and he is a very versatile defensive player who can guard 1 through 5 all the way out to the perimeter, but he is often playing up a weight class in the direct head-to-head matchup inside. Fellow Eastern Conference bigs like Joel Embiid, Nikola Vucevic, and Kristaps Porzingis have historically been a problem for him, and there's a lot of bigs in the West who he can't really put up with. I picture Poeltl getting a lot of opportunity on the floor with the Nets. Patty Mills being involved in this deal is in the eyes of the Nets a nothing loss, as he does not actually play for them consistently, but for the Spurs, I think they would love to bring back the fan favorite to help mentor and bring out the best in their young guards, and that late first round pick has become the price of a win now veteran. For my third deal, I have Poeltl going back to the team that drafted him, the Toronto Raptors, in exchange for Precious Achiuwa, Khem Birch, and a pick. The Raptors' experiment of playing nothing but 6'7" to 6'9" guys around Fred VanVleet, as I had predicted prior to the start of the season, has failed miserably. What was at one time a championship contender has fizzled out dramatically, with largely the same core that won them that ring, plus a Rookie of the Year in Scotty Barnes. The team needs a big body to shore up their interior defense. Currently, opponents shoot 72% at the rim against them, the 10th highest in the league, and opponents shoot 56% on twos in general, which is the 4th highest. You cannot compete playing such poor defense inside. Poeltl fixes this right away. For San Antonio, this deal gets them one young asset in Achiuwa, who is 23 years old. Perhaps the Spurs culture will bring out the best of him. Birch is nothing in particular, he's just a equalizer for the salary, and the draft pick is simply what they need to give up to make this deal make sense. Honestly, the Raptors are in a much worse spot than the two teams I previously mentioned and the next two teams. They sit 6 games under 500 and 11th in the East. Poeltl doesn't make this team a contender. But if they are going to refuse to give up on this season, which is what I and many others expect, then this move at least makes them more competitive. My next trade I have is one I have not seen brought up pretty much anywhere, but to me it makes a lot of sense, so please hear me out. I have Poeltl going to the Denver Nuggets in exchange for Jeff Green, Christian Braun, and a pick. The reason you haven't heard much about the Nuggets making a move for Poeltl is likely because they are the #1 team in the West and currently have the 2-time and likely next MVP Nikola Jokic manning the middle. They are a powerhouse, and starting caliber center is not something most people think they need. But let me explain my reasoning. The Nuggets' interior defense is terrible. They allow opponents to shoot 75% at the rim, which is 0.01% away from being the absolute worst in all of the NBA. Jokic is the best player in the league, but as a rim protector, he is just okay. It is the backup center that falls off a cliff for them. Can you believe their win now addition this offseason to back him up was the 34-year-old DeAndre Jordan? This is baffling to me, as they have looked over guys like DeMarcus Cousins, who was on their team last year, Myers Leonard, who can space the floor, or Hassan Whiteside, who is a great rim protector, for Jordan. Sure, of those listed, Jordan is by far the most well-liked around the powerful decision makers in the league, but quite frankly, I don't care if you like the guy or not. You need to try to win a championship while your literal MVP is playing like an MVP and has a great cast around him. They owe it to Jokic, the rest of their team, and the fans of Denver to make a win-now move and fix their biggest weakness. Poeltl would fix their backup center woes profoundly. The deal pushes them to the top of the league in my opinion. And as for San Antonio, Jeff Green is a legitimate role player who they could look to move after this deal. Brown is a 21-year-old who has shown already that he can play for a winning team, and the late first-round pick just sweetens the deal. And finally, we have reached the 5th and final deal of the video. For my final trade, I have Poeltl going to the Dallas Mavericks in exchange for Dwight Powell and a pick. The Mavs are in a similar position to the Nuggets. They have a guy who legitimately could win the MVP award this season in Luka Doncic, playing like a monster amongst a city. But unlike the Nuggets, the rest of this team falls off. Beyond Luka, the only positives on the roster, in my opinion, are Christian Wood, Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Josh Green. Everyone else is a barely serviceable shooter, or literally nothing. For a team that has the guy that unanimously every GM around the league would like to build their roster around, they have done an awful job doing that. Yet they still find themselves 2 games over 500 and 5th in the West. Poeltl becomes the defensive anchor they desperately need. The Mavs currently allow 70% shooting at the rim, which is 12th highest in the league. The combination of Wood and Powell are not getting it done. Even though Poeltl is a small addition relatively speaking to what you would like to see them do, I believe this is the best realistic in-season trade that they can make right now to help boost them to the top of the West. For San Antonio, Powell is on an expiring deal, so even if he ends up just sitting on the bench, it doesn't really hurt them. And the late first round pick and cap space is what makes the deal worth it. So there you have it, 5 possible trades that make the most out of Jakob Poeltl. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and more importantly are enjoying watching the NBA this season. Please, if you have not already, like the video and subscribe for more basketball content. Also, I encourage you to leave a comment about your thoughts on the deals I brought up or offer a trade idea you have. I love reading what you all have to say. Thanks again for watching. I will see you all next time.